So, I've had a few questions, and the main question that's been brought up is this, and I want a chance for us to explain ourselves just a little bit is what was your reasoning behind starting this channel?
I've always kind of wanted to start a YouTube channel. Just over the years, it's changed on a variety of subjects. I used to be into fishing all the time, but it's like there's so many different fishing YouTube channels out there. It's like you look at what some of them guys do now. It's just I knew I couldn't really compete in there. And then I started my Facebook page, which I haven't updated in a while. You can find that at Walker's Reloading Bench on Facebook. And I just wanted a place to share what I was working on, whether it was simply mounting a scope or buying a new gun or I worked up, these loads, over the weekend kind of thing. And I just made an offhanded comment to Scott one day about, it'd be fun to start a YouTube channel, and one thing led to another, and now you have the Midwestern Reloaders. I mean, we had a couple of different name ideas floating around there for a while, but I think this is the one that fits us best. So I mean, it was just, I wanted to be able to, because, I mean, there's other reloading channels out there, but most of them aren't targeted toward beginners. I mean, most of them are, hey, this is what I'm loading. These are the steps I do. This is, the product I have. And you look at some of these guys and they have, $1,000 progressive press kits. And, you know, I've seen on plenty of Facebook groups of these guys that have the new Hornady 3-in-1 trimmer that trims, chamfers, and deburrs your case all. I'm not spending $600.
Can't afford to.
My particular kit I bought off Facebook Marketplace for like $350 or $400. Came with everything I needed except for the dies and everything, every other component. But came with my trimmer, came with, the press. It, has the powder thrower, but with the videos I don't bother to use it because I don't want it to switch out powders all the time. And the one comment I keep getting is, you need a powder trickler. I have one. I don't use it for the videos for the same reason. Like the 308 video I just did. I used 6 different powders. Why would I switch the powder trickler out for 6 different powders? And the chances of having residue powder in there from the previous one, I don't want to take pressure spikes from that. But I mean, I figured, start this, target it toward beginners. Anybody that wants to get into, reloading, it's a pretty good place to start. The very first video I did with the 243, I mean, I did a in-depth, step-by-step process of what it takes. I mean, it doesn't have to cost you a lot. I mean, you look at, your RCBS presses. I mean, you could probably go on eBay and buy one of those for like $50.
Actually, that one back there, my uncle gave me because he got out of reloading, and the one that you're using right now, the other one that I had,
Yeah.
I actually trimmed a guy's tree for it. He needed the tree trimmed. I wanted the press, so I said, "Hey, what if I work on this for you?" He's like, "Go ahead, we'll do that."
I mean, and that's the thing, guys. Even Lee. I mean, you've seen the press that Scott did a review on. Now, like I said, we didn't disclose the percentage they gave us and what it cost us, kind of thing. But you can buy just that press brand new for $120. Compare that to the big Rock Trucker 4 I have. That one's double the price. I mean, even if you were doing something as simple as, just 223 and you want some plinking loads, they have a press that is, I think you can get it on Amazon for like $55. It still has that same breech lock system in it.
And even the little hand presses they have the breech lock like for 223. I mean, you could literally take them to
All
your
those
office.
ones that yeah.
Yeah, you just I actually have a guy that contacted me that says I have 3 of those that I keep my dies in. He loads 223 for AR. So he's got one with the deprimer, one with a bullet setter, and one with the crimper. And he says, "While I'm at the office, if I got nothing to do," he says, "I'm sitting there loading." And they're only like $30.
Yeah. I mean, another cheap option too, if you wanted to get into loading. Now you got to use either fresh brass or brass that has been shot out of your gun. Is Lee offers what they call the Lee Loader Kit, and you simply use a hammer. It comes with everything you need. It only neck sizes. That's why you either have to use fresh brass or brass that's been fired out of your gun. And it'll neck size it. And it'll even give you a little bit of load data, I think, when you buy those too. And I mean, it's just as simple as then all you got to really buy is your components and a manual. And I mean, the manual, that's dealer's choice. I mean, it really depends on what bullet company you want to go with. I mean, for the last couple of years, I've been strictly Hornady because I have the Hornady app on my phone. But I've slowly started transitioning to more Sierra bullets because for the price you pay, they are extremely accurate. And like when I did the 308 video, I had actually called, well, I had emailed for Sierra first and asked what they thought about the powder selection I had and if it was safe to use, data from a loader or an older reloading manual. And they're like, yeah, no problem. These powders will be fine. Don't recommend using this one. And the technician was nice enough to include his phone number. Said if I wanted to actually discuss it over the phone, to give him a call. So I gave him a call, got a little further explanation on why the one powder wasn't recommended. It was just a case of Sierra themselves didn't test it. So they're like, yeah, you could use the Hodgdon data if you wanted, but it's just a little too fast burning. We wouldn't recommend it. So, I didn't use it. I kept that one out of the video, replaced it with another one I had that he said would be perfectly fine, even though they didn't use it because of where the burn rate fell, because it's right in between Ramshot TAC and H335. He goes, you should have no problem using it. Just use Hodgdon's data. You should be safe. And 10 out of 10 on Sierra's customer service. And for us, that is a big thing. If you call a place, you want one answer. You don't want to, beat around the bush. You want someone that'll give you one answer, a reason why it will or will not work, and that's all you need. You don't need a company of might work, might not work.
If you blow up, it didn't work.
Yeah, don't go filling a 30-odd 6 case with a bunch of red dot. Scott actually knows a guy that did that.
Yep. He's literally missing half his face.
But I mean, guys, it's with starting the YouTube channel, it was just a case of wanting to provide everybody with as much information as possible because, there's some of them bullets and stuff out there, bullet powder combinations that, you can either find on Hodgdon's website or in an older manual that, doesn't appear in some of the newer ones. And a lot of it's just a case of newer powders have come out that perform a lot better. But it's like you can still use some of them older powders. Like prime example, H380. You can use it in a 243 for basically every bullet weight, but there's better options out there. The one that comes to mind is H4350. You can basically use that from a 55 grain bullet all the way up to a 105 grain bullet. Once you get high enough, you got to have a fast enough twist rate. But, I just wanted to start this because like them 69 grain RMR bullets we got, good luck trying to find a video on them.
Yeah.
Like I told Scott today, I think I've seen one in the last 6 months that just randomly appeared one day. I'm like, these bullets have potential for being a cheaper alternative
They're
to.
They're what, $50 for 250?
They went up a little bit in price. I think it was only by like $1. I think when you first bought them, they were $50 for 250 with free shipping. Now I think you can add $3 for like the peace of mind shipping that adds insurance kind of thing.
I think they were still like only like 51 or 50. I think they were $53.
As I say, I think it's either 51 or 50. It went up a little bit, but
and these and your rifle, these performed really well.
Yeah, especially with CFE 223.
Yep.
I had it was like a 300 thou group.
Yeah.
With that bullet, I think I'm just gonna load up a couple more of those and just test them again. Some of them other bullet, like the 52 grain, I might go back and revisit them a little bit more, but I want something that's good target and coyote medicine. So, them 69 grain, I have a feeling them things are gonna hit like a truck, especially for being such a small bullet,
and especially the speed they're doing. I mean, they're moving.
I want to quick bring that up. We actually had a subscriber email us that was a fan of another reloading YouTube channel that he unfortunately doesn't do videos anymore. But in his videos, he showed the loading aspect and then showed the range and had chronograph data, which we will do chronograph data in the future. It's just that particular day we forgot to set it up and it was kind of cold and we really didn't want to mess with it. So in future videos, we will get the chronograph figured out. You know, it's just a magneto speed, you know, the bayonet style that goes on the end of the barrel. And there's so many controversial posts out there. Does hanging something off the end of your barrel change your point of impact? Some people say yes, some people say no. I mean, we'll find out. I mean, with my 270, I want to test the velocity that those bullets are doing just because I want to make a drop chart for them. So that'll kind of be the testing point. And then from there, you know, some of these barrels are free floated. So yeah, you know, could hanging something off the end of it affect it a little bit? Maybe. But now like Scott's 308 and his 223 that have them big heavy barrel, it's not going to affect it at all.
I'll tell you this. I had a presumption of it is not going to, because like in the military, when you're doing your shoots, you're qualifying, you know, with an M16 and you hang out a 4-pound bayonet off the end of that thing and it's still hitting in the exact same place. The only thing I have ever read is that as the bullet comes out, it's supposed to displace some of the movement of the air, and that causes the bullet to move. It might. We'll see. We'll see when we test it out.
And you know, it's like, you know, you look back in the day, they had the shoot through chronographs. Some are great and all, but if you don't have a sunny day, they're pointless. Now, yeah, you know, you have the Garmin's, and the Athlon now makes a version that's like the Garmin, but those aren't cheap. I think the Garmin one goes for like $500-$600. The Athlon one, I think, is like $300 or $400. It's like, I think once the channel gets big enough, we could probably reach out to one of them companies and maybe they'll, you know, send us one. But for right now, that magneto speed will work for anything we need it to.
And you know, it is a Garmin, and everything I've read about it actually has really good reviews. So I'm really excited to use it to see how it works and to see what kind of speeds we're producing, if we're anywhere near data from the book or not.
And that's something you guys got to remember too, is a lot of the load data that's in the manuals are out of 24-inch full diameter test barrels,
which are at least 1.25 inches in diameter, because they're test barrels.
Yeah, like 1.8 1.25 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And you know, they're 24 inches, so you are going to pick up a little bit more speed. Now, like my 270, according to the Sierra manual, you know, that says I should be getting about 2,800 feet a second. Now you lose about 25-30 feet a second for every inch you cut off, so I should be pushing roughly 2750-ish. I mean, that's a little slow for a 270, but with a 140 grain bullet, and I'm shooting sub half MOA groups at 100 yards, anything that bullet touches is pretty much dead on the spot. I mean, everybody does speed kills. No, not necessarily. And then everybody does the energy kills. In a sense, you know, you have, you know, your kinetic energy and you have your hydrostatic energy.
Mm-hmm.
And you could get into all kinds of things on that. If you really want to learn more about that, go listen to some of the episodes of the Hornady podcast. They really explain that in depth. And it hurt my brain listening to them at first, but then the more and more they talked, the more and more it was actually easier to understand. And everybody always thinks that I need my bullet going the fastest it can go. No. Will it get to your target quicker? Sure. But faster doesn't always mean better.
Yeah, you look at our area, you know, when the 6.5 Creedmoor first came out, everybody had to have them. Well, a lot of guys around here are only making 50, 60-yard shots at deer. The problem is that 6.5 Creedmoor, the bullet is traveling so fast that it does not have time to expand before it just flies through.
Like, here's a good example. My one brother-in-law, he actually used to hunt with a 300 Win Mag.
Yeah.
And he was shooting Remington reduced recoil 150 grain core locked. And he quit.
Six.
He quit hunting with it because it was just ripping through deer. that bullet really didn't have time to expand. You know, when you're shooting a deer at 25, 50 yards, it doesn't really have time to do anything. And, you know, another good source of information, if you're into podcasts, go listen to the Backcountry Hunting podcast with Joseph Von Benedict. He sets himself, anytime it comes to, you know, killing an animal at long range, he looks for a minimum of 2,000 foot-pounds of energy. Because then he knows that basically any bullet he's using, now he primarily uses, I think, Swift bullets now. Those are a bonded bullet. And I think the minimum rating on them, I want to say, is like 1,600 feet a second.
Yeah.
But it's like you can't necessarily look at the feet per second. You want to look at the energy, because it takes the energy to actually start the expansion. So, you know, I kind of did it with my 270. You know, I know out to, I think, 450 yards, which is, you know, pretty much a quarter of a mile. That bullet still has 2,100 pounds of energy to expand. Now, I don't know what Sierra's minimum is on them 140 grain tip Game Kings, but I think I'll have no issues with that bullet, whether I'm shooting something at, you know, 50 yards or out to 450 yards. You know, and, you know, my 270, that's my primary, you know, deer gun. You know, I've been having so many issues with my 308 lately that hopefully they're fixed now.
You know, my reasoning for starting in this channel is, well, a lot like Walker's is, but my big thing is, you know, I started talking to Walker a while back about the long range shooting class, and he's like, I'm not interested. And I kind of asked him why, and he says, well, I can't afford to get into a precision rifle. And I just kind of looked at him and said, well, what do you have? And he told me what he had, and I said, you know, you could take that 308 that you have and shoot 1,000 yards with it. He's like, no, you can't do that. You got to have this. Yeah, that is a lot of the hype in media. I have trained many people to take a sporter barrel rifle and shoot 600-700 yards. It's perfectly capable, and I wanted to show people that you can reload, and you can reload very confidently, very precisely, and shoot, you know, precision style shooting on a budget of, you know, with your 223. Let's take your 223 for instance, your Savage 223, and all your loading stuff. Do you think you have under, let's say, $2,000 in everything?
Well, let's see. You gave me the scope, but we'll include that into the price of it.
Yeah,
so just the gun with the rings and everything, I think that we figured out was about $650, because it was about $450 for the gun. She might be a little bit more than that, because it was like $450 for the gun. Another, that scope, if you go online and buy it now, it's like $140. And I paid like $27 or $25 for the rings that are on it. So I mean, we'll just say $700. And then all the brass I have, you had either given to me or I picked up on a range for whatever reason years ago, before I was even into reloading and before I was even, you know, had a 223.
Let's just say you had, and that's one thing, guys. If you guys want to start reloading and get into 223, go to the range, because 5.56 brass
is everywhere.
And the biggest thing about 5.56 brass is the primers are glued in, and you have to swag them a little bit. Not a big deal, but if it's free, I mean.
And honestly, 5.56 brass is actually a lot of times nicer than 223 brass, because, yeah, you got to deal with the crimp primer pockets a little bit. Excuse me, but the brass itself at the base is actually a little thicker. Yep. Because 5.56 actually has, it's actually a complete different pressure system, because it's, you know, a military cartridge, but it has slightly higher pressures than a 223. And that's why you can't interchange them the way you can with 7.62 2x51 and 308, but that's a whole different discussion. But I mean, if you're loading 223 and, you know, you want to get, you know, the maximum amount of loadings that you can, get some 5.56 brass, especially Lake City brass, because that stuff will last you quite a while. Now, you may have to anneal it every now and again, but if you're someone that gets into, oh, you just bump the shoulder back, you know, 2-3 thou, that brass will last you a long time. I mean, unfortunately, I don't have the headspace comparator to do it, but I just full length size mine and trim it every time. So it's like, I'm gonna run out of length on it before I, actually blow it out.
And that's the thing. If you're not shooting maximum loads, I know people that have reloaded their 223 brass, 25, 30 times. If you're just shooting a moderate
Yeah.
load, but yeah, that's why I got into the channel is, you see so much, well, for two reasons. Number one, you see so much on YouTube of these people, I started reloading precision shooting, I got $11,000 in my rifle, which is very easy to do. But, how many of us, hey, Walker, do you have $11,000 drop on a rifle?
Hell no.
I don't have $11 right now to drop on a rifle. But the thing is if you save up a little bit, you can get a decent rifle. You can get decent stuff to reload with, and you can reload well, and you can shoot well, and have a lot of fun doing it. Don't go with the attitude that you're going to go to the competition and win everything because you got what you think is a good rifle. No matter what you do, there's always something better out there. But you're going to be able to go out there, have fun, and even if you don't win a competition, whether it's a regular competition or whether it's just between friends, you're going to show them that, this might just be a budget rifle, but it can hold its own.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like you see a lot of these guys out there that do the competition shooting, and they have full contour barrels, custom actions, custom stocks or chassis, and this, that, and the next thing. And like, don't get me wrong, I love listening to the Hornady podcast, but like I listen to the amount of money them guys have in the gun. All of them are custom.
Yeah,
it's like, I had this action that I went out and bought a new barrel for, and just buying a barrel. Like I thought about buying a 7mm 08 barrel for my 308 just to kind of play around with. I am not going to spend $600 on just a barrel when for about half that I can just go buy a whole nother gun.
Well, the nice thing about a competition is, when you enter a competition, if you're just running a sporter rifle out of the box, you're not shooting against these guys with these competition guns, these custom rifles. They have several different competitions. They have custom, it depends on how customized your rifle is. If your rifle is a complete custom, they have different categories. You have that complete custom, you have partially customized, you have like 20% customized, you have stock rifle. So when you go into these competitions, you're shooting against people with the same type of setup that you have.
See, and I was saying for me, like with the long range shooting, it was a case of I myself don't have anywhere where I could shoot past 200 yards. Most of the ranges around here max out at about 200 yards. And it's not a case of I knew my gun couldn't do it. It's a case of, there's a lot of people out there, they can do a lot with a 3 to 9x40 scope. I myself am not one of them. So, and that's my big thing is I like to do everything on a budget, but it has to be quality. I mean, you can go out, you can spend $200 on an optic and it might work 2 times and all of a sudden it doesn't hold 0 anymore. So, that's the thing, like, some of these guys on optics, like, don't get me wrong, Leupold makes fantastic optics. But, they start out at $300 and go up. And, like the scope I have on my 270, I bought that off Amazon for $200. It's first focal plane, it has the dialable turrets and everything. But, most people sit there and look at, that's only a $200 scope, what can you do with it? Everything your $600 scope can. Like, yeah, my glass may not be as clear, but it can do the exact same thing. And that's the thing, guys, too. With this channel, both Scott and myself push this a lot is, stick to a budget, look at what's in your budget, and find what's affordable, but also quality. And that is why CV Life really piqued our interest because, I reached out to them. They were more than willing to work with us as a channel. And at the time when I reached out to them, we only had like 60 subscribers. So for them to say, hey, yeah, here, this is what you got to fill out. You'll become an affiliate. We'll make you a custom code that, your subscribers can get 10% off. And every single product we have that's from CV Life has been affordable but yet quality. You know, Scott just got, you know, his guns out to the range yesterday just to kind of, you know, sight them in and play around with them. And, you know, especially in the daylight, that glass is clear.
As a matter of fact, I had several other guys at the range, and they looked at my scope and they said, CB Life, said, we've never heard of them. I said, so I set my 308 out. I was shooting 100 yards. I said, you know, shoot it. And they're firing it off. They're like, man, that's a really nice scope. And they're looking it over. They're shooting, and that thing is so clear. I looked at them and said, well, what kind of price range do you think that is? And that was the Eagle Feather.
Yeah, it's a 4 to 16 by 44.
No, that's.
Or does it have a slightly bigger objective? I think
That's
that's a 4 to 16 by. I think
No,
it's
that
50.
is the 44 because it's the side focus. Yeah, so that's not the Eagle Feather. That's the
that's the Eagle Feather.
Yeah,
There's just a couple different ones.
Right.
Like the one I was looking at, it's like a 6 to 18 by 50. It's also the Eagle Feather, but it's actually one that they target more toward long range shooting. The side focus on the increments on it are a little different, but otherwise the rest of it's all the same.
But yeah, them guys were looking through it, and I asked them, I said, what kind of price point do you think that scope is? And you know, they're over there looking at theirs, and they've got, you know, a couple of them had Vortex.
Let me guess,
And,
Vortex.
you know, one guy had a Leopold. A couple of the others, one had a Burris, and I think there was a Redfield out there. And they're like, you know what? They said, if we had to put a price point, I said, I bet you paid $600 for that scope. I looked at them and said, well, I said, I wish. I said, that scope was under $100. And they couldn't, their jaws dropped. They couldn't believe it. They said, your 308 is shooting exactly where we aim every single time. The optics are clear as a bell. The reticle is really nice. And the glass is like, you wouldn't believe. And they're like, I literally had to look it up on my phone and show it to them.
See, that was the thing too. Like with that Blackhound I bought, that came with everything you needed. It came with a sunshade. It came with a scope. Came with rings. It's just a case of all my guns have Weaver style bases on them, and it had Picatinny only rings. So fortunately, I had to get different rings. No big deal. I mean, I went with Weaver rings because
Well, you could have got a Picatinny rail.
actually it was cheaper for me to buy the rings. Not by much, but it was cheaper. But, you know, and that's the thing is, you know, my only complaint about that scope is that the higher magnification, the reticle does get a little chunky. But what's nice is it still has all your MOA increments. You know, it's not a mill dot. It has all the hashes in there. Where some of them bigger scopes, it has that Christmas tree reticle. And to me, that is just too busy in there.
Me too.
So that's where, you know, like CV Life, if you spend a little bit more money, like they have one, it's called the Bear Power. It's a 5 to 25 by 50.
54.
Is it 54?
Yep.
And I say that's same thing. Got the dialable turrets. You know, it comes with basically everything you need. It's got the Christmas tree reticle in it. But to me, it doesn't look as chunky as like some of the higher end scopes. But most of their scopes are mill dot scopes. So as long as you know what you're doing, you can use the mill dots for your drop without having to dial.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, mill dot scopes are great for that. But with my 270, I wanted something I could dial that had now it doesn't have the zero, what do they consider that? The zero lock, but it has the zero stop.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I can dial and then I turn it back to zero, it stops. You know, you won't lose your zero. And that was a big thing. I could care less about the lock. I wanted the stop. And whether it's the one that Scott has, where that one actually has both the lock and the stop, or, you know, even some of the higher ones, you know, it doesn't really matter what one you go as. If you get one that has dialable turrets, they're going to either have a stop or a lock or both. And for your price point on the CV Life scopes, I mean, I think you can get a 3 to 9 by 40 from them for
like $40.
$40.
And that's with a mill dot.
And, you know, it goes up from there, but it's just like, you know, they make a good quality optic for the price point they're at. And that's I'd have to say that is the number one thing with this channel is just budget. You know, neither of us, you know, can go out and spend, you know, $500 willingly. You know, for my 223, I had to save up for months and kind of argue with the wife a little bit about it, but
Well,
You know,
I feel you. My 308 that I have, I actually purchased it off. A friend of mine had, bless him, passed away in a car accident, and his kids knew that we were very, very good friends, and that he had left in his diary how much I liked that rifle. And I know what the rifle was worth, but I got the rifle and a bunch of ammo, and I got it at a really good price. But it took me like 8 months to save up for that, and they knew I was saving up for it. I was giving them a little money as I could, and they were willing to work with me. But you find that all the time. You can find neighbors, friends, church people, family members that may have something that you want. Say, hey, can we work something out, or even can I
yeah.
come over and do some work for you?
Hell, I mean, there's a bunch of guys at work at my where my dad works that they do gun raffles all the time. They'll do like 100 tickets, like $20 a ticket kind of thing, and they raffle off guns all the day. And it's just a way for them to get something, get rid of something they didn't want and give somebody something they want for not having to spend a whole lot of money. And with the raffle ticket, they make their money back. And it's like even doing something like that. I mean, you go to any of them banquets. I mean, some of them, yeah, you spend like like the one that comes to mind is the Ducks Unlimited banquet. I mean, you spend probably $200 for like your meal and all your tickets and everything. But my second oldest sister and my brother-in-law, they basically go to it every year and come home with something.
Well, that's like something Walker doesn't know yet. I'm going to surprise this one on him. I actually did this with my 270 Winchester short mag. It was a Winchester Model 70. I bought that rifle for $10. It literally looked like something you needed to take down to the junkyard and recycle.
Scrap it.
The only thing good about it was it had the rifling in it. The stock was all broke up. I mean, it was completely rusted out. It looked horrible. But this winter, I think that's one thing we're going to do is we're going to show how you can take what looks like a piece of junk, turn it into something that's not just pretty, but very functional.
Yeah, I'll just give you that bolt action shotgun I got.
I got one.
Like the stock on it actually looks great. But that barrel, I mean, the inside of it, beautiful.
Right.
The outside, because it sat in a gun rack in someone's house for years, it got all rusty. I mean, it shoots. It's perfectly safe to shoot. It just doesn't look pretty.
Yeah. But, the second reason why I wanted to start this channel is Walker and I know you guys have seen it too. There are so many, I'm just going to say the word idiots on YouTube that just do things that are way, way out of line. And, you will hear us all the time say, if it is not printed data, don't load it.
That's the big thing. There's all kinds of Facebook groups and forums out there. Someone will ask a question of, hey, where do I find load data for this? And someone will be like, well, I worked up a load on my own. This is, where I started. This is where I ended. Kind of. And we're going to make a video on it. We had some complications. But unless you actually know what signs of pressure you are looking for, don't do it. I mean, my big thing is I cross-reference all kinds of data, out of all different kinds of manuals. But it's like if you're using a particular bullet manufacturer, like Sierra, Hornady, Nozick, use their data. They've done enough testing with it, with enough different powders. They know what's safe. They know what's not. Now, they have pressure barrels. And they will keep ramping them up until they start seeing whether it's, excessive pressure from what the SAMI spec is, or whether it signs on the brass. And, like my 308, for example, when I first started loading for that, I'm using a 165 grain Hornady interlock. And what I did is I took a box of factory ammo and seen roughly what you're supposed to get out of it for muzzle velocity. I backed down from that a little bit, looked at the manual and said, okay, here's a good starting point. Worked my way up. 44 grains of Varget is max for that bullet. I stopped at 43 because I didn't want to get anywhere near max and start having issues. But at 43, I started getting good groups, so I just stopped. And that's the big thing is you need to use data that is modern. Like I said, when I called Sierra about it, anything printed after about the year 2000, you're safe using. It's kind of when all the different, chemicals got finalized with basically all the manufacturers. Anything older than that, you might run into some problems. Guns back then, we'll take like the Model 70, for example. Now, that is a very strong action.
Yeah.
But even then, them loads back then were anemic because the powders they had, they could only push so much velocity out of them before you started getting to dangerous areas.
The steel wasn't as good as what it is now.
Like, there's a reason why the Remington 700 has so many different clones of their action out there from so many different companies for custom rifles, or even, some of the other rifle manufacturers, because it's a good solid action, and nowadays we can push higher velocities. Now, you probably won't ever really see super high velocity on our channel, because a lot of times we just start at the bottom, work our way up, find what works, and you never really get to maximum. I mean, I think the closest I ever come to maximum was when I started loading for my 270. I was using 130 grain SSTs at the time. I think max charge was 62. I got up to 61. Actually, I might have went to 61.5, and they just kind of started to scatter out after that. And that's the thing, is every gun is different.
Yep.
We can take Scott's 308, work up a load for it, throw it in my 308, and it probably won't shoot worth a shit.
That's because mine's better.
No. Well, whatever. The thing is, it's
not at all.
Same cartridge, same twist rate,
Yep.
Everything's the same. But because of the way barrels are done, they have different harmonics. Again, that's something, if you want to research, go do it on your own time, because that's just...
It's a lot of information.
It's a lot, and it'd be too hard for us to explain. And there's so much information out there that you won't hear us say, but a simple Google search is all you need to do. I mean, there's so many podcasts out there by bullet manufacturers and stuff that give good information about, especially like the Hornady podcast, but like especially internal and external ballistics on bullets.
A really good one to go to is Savage. You can go to Savage's site and actually go in there, and there is a point in there where you can actually push on, and they give you a tour of the factory. And you can go around and see how the actions are made, how the barrels are made. It's only like 25 minutes long, I think.
I've never seen it, so.
But they actually go through and show the science and stuff of it, and it's really, really neat how they do it. Now, they're not giving you all their tricks and trades away, but
they're giving you the basics.
Yeah.
What people want to see.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, like, especially with barrels, that's a big thing. You have cut rifling, you have button rifling. There's so many different ways they do it.
Laser etching.
And, that's why, you look at some pre-fit barrels, like Savage. There's a website I found you could buy a brand new Savage barrel from them for like $150, which isn't bad.
No. My 223, when I ordered a different barrel for that. I actually ordered the Pro Target barrel, which means it's a little bit bigger in diameter. It's a half an inch longer. And, that barrel, because it was from Savage, and it, of course, threads right up and everything, I think the barrel was only like $185.
See, and that's the thing, if you buy a pre-fit barrel, you can usually save yourself a bit of money, but it's like, let's say you got a 243, and, like, I know I can say it because I have one. A Savage 243 has a 1 9 1/4 twist rate to it. Now, I can stabilize up to about 103 grains worth of bullet, but let's just say you wanted to use, like, Hornady came out with that ELD VT. I think it's like an 80 grain 6mm bullet. You need a 1 7 twist to stabilize that.
Right.
So if you wanted a custom barrel made for your 243, you're looking at a minimum of $400. Well, that doesn't include shipping.
Right, but Savage also makes a 1 10 in that same barrel for the little 60s and 70s too, don't they?
No, I think they're just flat right across the board with the 1 9 1/4.
Oh, are they? Okay. I know somewhere I read that someone had a barrel out there. I thought it was Savage, but maybe not.
I know the Howa 1500 my dad has in 240, that has a 1 10 twist. So the highest he can go is 100 grains.
Right.
You can run anything from a 55 all the way up to 100, but anything past that 100, you're It might stabilize it. It might not. That's the thing, too, guys. Again, bullet stabilization. There's all kinds of calculated. Berger has a really nice one. You put your bullet diameter, your grain, how long the bullet is, and what your twist rate is, and it'll tell you will it stabilize or will it start to tumble. And I mean, especially with like the 270 now, with the introduction of the 6.8 Western back in I think it was 2019, 2020, maybe 2021, somewhere in there. It's a 277 diameter bullet, but they range anywhere between 155 to like 175 grains. Your standard 270 can't stabilize that heavy of a bullet. But there has been indications out there of like, I know Nosler makes one, it's the Accubon Long Range, it's 165 grains, that sometimes a 1 in 10 twist will stabilize it, but you're running at really slow speeds. You can't get your 3,000 feet a second you want out of it, because the rifling isn't going to stabilize it. And if, like I said, if that's something you want to look into, do it on your own time, because it's just too much of a science and too much of a headache to try and make videos on. I'm not a gunsmith. I know a couple people that are, but even they can tell you some basics, but can't get into the real science of it.
Well, let's get back to our giveaway thing. And what are we doing for? How are you gonna enter this?
All right. In order to enter the giveaway, you're going to have to be subscribed to the channel as number one. So it's kind of like your automatic entry. Now, thing with YouTube is unless you have it set to public subscription, I can't necessarily see who is all subscribed to the channel. But if I see the subscriber count going up, then I know you guys are at least subscribing to enter. And then leave a like on the video. That lets us know too that, hey, you watched it at least enough to, enter it. And comment down below, what is your favorite cartridge, whether it's hunting, reloading, just for plinking kind of thing. We're kind of curious to see who out there uses what. I mean, my big three are my 270, my 308, and now my 223. I mean, those three cartridges are my do-alls. I can pretty much grab any one of them, go out the door, and do what I want with it. So, I mean, if you're out there shooting some of the newer ones, like the 300 PRC, the 7 PRC, the 338 ARC, I don't care if it's a bolt gun, a gas gun, whatever, just tell us, this is what you're shooting, this is why you like it, kind of give us a peek in your window kind of thing of what made you choose that cartridge. I mean, there's so many new ones out there that, you do some reading on it, it's like, oh, they're cool. Like before I bought my 223, I was looking at a 22 ARC. But when I looked at the price of box ammo, I'm like, no. I'm not spending $27 every time I need ammo. I mean, reloading it, it's about the same price as 223, but I just want to know what you guys are shooting, why you like it, and that's your entry. I mean, 3 simple steps. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. You'll have a week. Next Monday, I will get a video posted of who the winner is. I'm just going to throw all the names in a little wheel, spin the wheel, and whoever it lands on, you're the winner. And then you'll have to reach out to us and give us your shipping info and everything, and we'll get everything shipped to you. But I said right now we're waiting on the stickers, the mug, the hat. I mean, the company was nice enough to say, hey, we had some quality issues. The text on it didn't quite look right, so we'll print you some new ones. So we're just waiting on them. And I mean, on the table, yeah, we only have a couple of things, but there is more that'll be included. It's just we don't have it here at the time.
The only thing I'm going to ask about this is, please, guys, when you do put your information of what you're loading, what you prefer, and what you like, guys, let's just keep it nice. We have enough stuff on talk forums of people talking not so nice to people about what they have. If it's something that you like or something that you think is a good thing, sure, comment, say, hey, that's a nice load, or that's a nice, but keep the harassing stuff down, please. That's not what we're about. We don't care what kind of weapon you shoot or what you load. We are excited that you're in the sport. That's it.
I mean, yeah, there's been plenty of occasions, I'm in so many different reloading Facebook groups, especially when I started. It was a case of I didn't always know where to find the best information kind of thing. So, I'd post a question in there, and so many times you get, are you stupid? No, I'm just looking for information. Like, some of them guys out there are just such assholes about everything. It's just one simple question. So as long as you guys can keep everything to a minimum of, you may criticize someone to, why would you choose that? Keep it in the way of, ask them why they chose it for what they chose it for, instead of, reaming them a new one of, I wouldn't have chose that kind of thing. It was their choice.
It might come down to the fact that you might be someone that the only rifle you own is an old 50-year-old 22 long rifle that your dad gave you or something rather, and that's all you shoot. Good. We're glad you're out there doing it. So don't let that keep you from trying to enter it either, because Walker and I, we don't care what you shoot or what you reload or how you shoot it or what you use it for. It doesn't matter to us. We just want to know what you're doing, because we want to support you and say, keep doing it.
Yeah. And I will say, as much as I don't like the cartridge myself, just because I really don't have a use for one, there will be no 6.5 Creedmoor hate in the comments. At least from me. I mean, there's so many guys I know that own one and have had good luck with them, but for me, there's so many other cartridges that could do what that one can do and more, but it's just
good, because I'll keep my comments out about the 350 Legend. Yeah.
Well, if you really want to get on like the 350 Legend, the 400 Legend, the 360 Buckhand, the only reason those cartridges are created were for the states that you can only hunt straight wall.
Yep.
But if you live in one of them states, all the more power to it. I mean, you can actually get pretty good performance out of that 350 Legend. It's just, for us around here, it was nothing. For the first gun you went out deer hunting with was a 30-30.
Yep.
Or a 308 or Granddad's old 30-06 that they didn't warn you had a full house load in it.
Or a double barrel 10 gauge shotgun when you're 11.
Try to pull one trigger, you actually pull both.
But no, we are really interested to know what you guys are doing. Only for the main reasons, like when I first started loading, I was in a very small town. We had one small shooting range, and pretty much nobody reloaded. So the only place I had to go to was the local sporting goods store, and
probably had a bunch of kids working there that didn't know anything.
Well, no, the guy that worked it was very, very knowledgeable. He'd been loading for years, but he was the type that if you wanted information, you need to go try it. If it doesn't work, try something different. And so I didn't have much help. I had the internet, so I went on the internet and I found a couple of really good forums that helped. And I'm not afraid to say this one. If you guys look up the Hand Loaders Bench forum, there's a lot of really, really good people on there that really helped me out along the way.
I've gone through that forum a little bit. I haven't posted anything in there, but that forum has everything from information on how to load shotgun shells to reloading old black powder cartridges to modern day cartridges to guys looking to sell stuff for a pretty affordable price. If you're looking at getting into reloading, whether you're looking at eBay or Marketplace or a brand new kit kind of thing, go check out the Hand Loaders Bench, make an account, go search through some of them. There's guys in there selling presses, powder throwers, trimmers for relatively inexpensive. It's just a case of they don't want to throw it out, but they don't have a use for it. They'd rather give it to somebody that can actually use it.
I've got a friend of mine right up the road that was talking to him, and him and his family, he's disabled, and they really don't make much. They pay the mortgage and everything else and don't have much left. And he was looking for some stuff, and I gave him that site. And not last week, the week before, they had a surprise package on the front porch. Somebody had gifted him a press, a scale, everything to start loading, and it had no return address on it. I later I did find out who it was. It was a guy that I talked to quite a bit. But you know, these guys in here really want you to succeed, and they are an enormous section of help. And they're most of them are really good guys that will really work with you. I've gotten a lot of help from there, so don't exclude that. And you know, Walker and I'll be honest with you. I've gotten a couple questions from you guys that I've had to put on that site and say, hey, can you guys help me answer this? you know, but you know, if we don't know the answer, we will do our darndest to find it out or send you to a place where you can find the information.
And a big thing too, guys. Like, let's just take the 308 for example. Let's say you want to load for your 308 and you have a certain bullet and a certain powder already available to you, and you can't find, you know, whether it's modern data or, you know, just can't find data at all. A lot of them bullet manufacturers, if you call them, talk to one of their technicians, and they will tell you like it's safe to use, it's not safe to use. You know, here's where I'd start, here's where I'd end, kind of thing. And they're more than willing to strike up a conversation with you. You know, it's not just the fact of they want your business, it's they want you to be safe. And, you know, like I said, that's why I got to give Sierra so much credit. Is, you know, I talked to their one technician, and, you know, he gave me so much information that day, and it was just a short 5-minute phone call. And, you know, it's all it takes. 5 minutes of your time just to ask a simple question, whether it's to us or to somebody else. You know, I go and I check the comments every single day. And, you know, I'm more than willing to, you know, like I said, get you guys the answer, or, you know, if I have the answer, I'll give it to you. If I got to, you know, do a little research, I will find a way to get it to you, or give you a phone number to some kind of manufacturer that, you know, can give you a direct answer. Instead of this, you post it on Facebook or you post it in a forum, and, you know, you got guys that, oh, it won't work, it will work. You know, we want you guys to be safe. That is the number one thing, especially for new loaders. Like, if you guys have been doing this for, you know, the last 40 years, and, you know, like the big one is wildcatters. Yeah. You know, them guys mess with so much different thing that, you know, if you have someone that's been wildcatting for, say, the past 20, 30 years, that's a guy to talk to, because he'll be able to tell you, you know, where to start, where to end, you know, what will and what won't work. I mean, because a lot of them guys, they got to take data from different cartridges and different powder, you know, sources to get what works. You know, we've been doing it basically since metallic cartridges have been created. If, like, I find myself all the time, oh, it'd be cool if I took this case and this diameter bolt. It already exists. Someone out there has made it. And what's cool is you got die manufacturer. I know Hornady is a big one. Call up their die shop and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. These are the tolerances I'm working with. They'll make you a custom set of dies.
Yep. You know, the other thing about customer service that I have to really put out is, you know, when we got in contact with Lee, so I got that nice, pretty red press back there. Well, when we did the review video, we sent it to Lee, and which we know they watched the video, because I think it was 2 days later, they come right back to us and said, hey, we watched your video.
The handle's on.
And yeah, they said, you know, move the handle a little bit and do a couple other little things, and the press will work better for you. You know, and they weren't at all mean about it. They were very, very nice about it.
Very informative. Just, hey, you know, you installed the handle a little wrong. It's making contact with the press. You know, just move it out a little bit. And like the big thing, like Scott said, the big issue with that is they don't have instructions on how to install that primer catch tube, which, yeah, it's simple enough, but, you know, it's something like that if, you know, with making review videos, if we notice something, we always send them back to the manufacturer. Every single CV Life one we've done, we've sent back to them and said, you know, here's the video, you know, what do you think? And a lot of times it's just, you know, they thank us for supporting them, and, you know, they take them consideration of what we said to heart. And if there's something they need to realize they need to change, whether it's instructions or something with the actual product, they go through the R&D to do it. You know, Scott's got a friend of his that, you know, CV Life years ago sent him some optics that to try out kind of thing. And he sent them back and said, hey, this is what I would change. This is what I liked. This is what I didn't like. And basically, what you see out of their scopes now is, in a way, thanks to him, because he was willing enough to take his time and say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what you should change. And it's companies like that that actually take, your comments to heart. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if somehow in the next, 2-3 years or whatever, Lee adds something to their instructions to, this is how the primer tube goes on. I mean, not saying it's because of us, but if they get enough, customers saying like, hey, how do you put this on kind of thing, they might change it.
And, Lee is, I tried RCBS, I tried Lyman, and I'm not dissing anybody. Don't think that I am. But I tried RCBS, I tried Lyman, and I tried Hornady. I tried calling each one of them. And each one of them was, well, if you want to contact us, here's the email. Lee is the only company that I called. When I called, customer service picked up the phone and said, oh, let me help you with that.
And that's the thing too, like, you guys don't really, I live in Wisconsin. I'm literally like a 20-minute drive from Scott, who lives in Michigan. And Lee themselves is located right in Wisconsin. So, I mean, it's actually kind of cool that a company that is from the region we are in is willing to work with us, because, some of these other ones we've contacted, they're how many states away, and, there really is no good way to contact. It's like, yeah, you can call them, but then you might have to wait a couple days for a call back, or they might not be willing to work with it. Like, there's been quite a few companies now that we've reached out to, like, yes, our channel is small, but Lee has been the one that basically, since we contacted him, has worked with us day one.
I think we only had like 50 subscribers back then.
I think we were up to 80 at that point.
Was it? Might have been 80.
Might have been around 80
I know
at that
it was
point.
less than 100.
And originally, we were just trying to get you guys a coupon code that you could use on Lee's website to save yourselves a little bit of money. But instead, they, were nice enough to give us a percentage to buy stuff for the channel to show you guys, their products kind of thing. The amount we paid for 2 die sets and a press, you probably couldn't get anywhere else.
And to be honest and helpful, Lee, she sent me an email. The lady we worked through sent me an email the other day. Every month they're running a sale on something, and it's usually like 25 or 30% off. So, it might not be a press this month, but also if you get on their site and watch, you can usually see what's going to be on sale next month. So, like, say the press is going to be on sale next month for, a 30% off. What's really nice about that is, okay, I want that press. Now you have a month to try to save a little money up, and then go get it with their sale. So I really like that about them too. And I'll be honest, you got a set of 223 dies. I got a set of the 223 dies, and I have the press. And I will tell you right now, I am very impressed with their components right now.
And that was the thing when I first started reloading. The reason I got into reloading was both my dad and my grandpa loaded for their 30-06s. They were both running the same load. I mean, their guns are literally only probably a couple hundred, numbers off of each other. They're close. And, they were able to run, I always thought reloading was cool. So when I got old enough and could, start to shoot, I always looked at my dad, I want to load for this. Well, there's no point. You can buy all kinds of factory. My big one was a 308. That's the thing is there is so many different, brands and bullet weights, factory ammo out there. If you're shooting factory ammo perfectly fine, stick with it. You don't need to get into reload. But if you want to, all the more power to you. But it was always drilled in my head because they always used RCBS, that you could only use RCBS dies. But then you start looking, all the thread pitches on and all the dies are the same.
They are.
They're all 7/14. So, when I got my 270 die, I bought them from a pawn shop for like $25. My 308 ones, I bought those brand new. Those are RCBS dies. But when I started loading for the 243, I wanted Hornady dies. Now, the big thing with the Hornady dies, the reason I want them, you get free bullets.
Well, I hear a lot of people say, well, Lee's junk. Well,
I will be honest, I was a little leery of Lee at first because you look at the price point and it's just like, Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's not quality. And I was very when when Scott borrowed me his lead eyes for 223, I was very impressed with them. I mean, I had a couple pieces of 308 brass. I have his 308 dies. I sized a piece with his dies, sized a piece with my RCBS die. They're the exact same.
Yeah, that's these dies right here, the RGB.
Yeah, they're really great.
They were $21.
Yeah.
And I've got a friend of mine that has been loading for 308 for 35 years.
With a set of those dies?
With not the RGB. They didn't have the RGB back then. It was just lead eyes in the red case. And he showed them to me, and it still has the price tag of $2.75. And he goes, I'd have probably loaded 70 to 80,000 rounds through these dies. He goes, and it's the only set of 308 dies I own. As long as you take care of them, I don't care what brand you get, as long as you take care of them, they're going to last a long time.
And the big thing I like about the lead eyes after working with them is when you look at the price point. So your standard set of RCBS dies, unless it's something kind of goofy, most of them range anywhere between about $45 and $55. And that's just for the dies. That doesn't include the shell holder. That usually will cost you about another $8, $6 maybe, depending if you find it on sale.
Depending on whether you go to Cabela's or not.
I think when I bought, that was nice. Is I could buy a RCBS number 3 shell holder, and it covered, my 243, my 308, and my 270. So it's like, if you only got to buy one shell holder, great. But what's nice about the lead dies is you buy the dies, it comes with a shell holder depending on which ones you buy. Now, the really great buy ones
does not.
They don't, but if you buy basically, whether it's the pace setter dies or like the micrometer dies we got for 223, those come with the shell holder. And
right here.
I think normal price, those were what? $45?
45, yep.
And it comes with everything. And what's nice is those ones even come with complete load data in here. Comes with the lead dipper to kind of give you I showed it in my one video, to kind of throw you in the right range. Comes with a little blister pack sizing lube. I mean, I'll probably never use it because I've been using the same tub,
Me too.
Hornady Unique that,
Yep.
And that stuff. You spend $8 on it. I think I bought mine at Fleet Farm. It cost me like $6-8, something like that.
I bought mine at...
I've been using it for the last 3.5 years.
I actually bought mine on Amazon. I think it was $7.50.
Yeah, it's about the same price no matter where you get it. And yeah, it comes with the shell holder. The only thing this set doesn't come with that some of the other ones do is the crimp die. But if you want to buy just a single crimp die, I think it's like $20.
Yeah, 18 or 20.
Yeah. I mean, these lead dies, like I said, when I first looked at them, like, I thought they were cheap because you look at the price of them. But, I mean, there's guys out there that, before Hornady actually started selling Hornady brand equipment, it was Pacific.
Yeah.
And there's guys out there that you hear, like, I have a set that you gave me, them Herder's 30-06 dies.
Yeah, them are older than the hills.
And the only thing wrong with them is the resizing die is missing the decapper pin. But I can literally unscrew the RCBS when it drops right in there.
I have extras.
Yeah. But, there's guys out there that use Herder's, Bonanza, Pacific die that have used them for well over 50 years. As long as you, keep up on them and keep them clean and don't let them get rusty, them dies will live longer than you do.
I have a Lyman powder measure in there that's literally 45 years old. It still works perfectly.
A lot of it's just maintenance.
Yep.
Just like your car. As long as you maintain it, it'll do good for you.
But yeah, that's what we're going to do for the giveaway. I am going to give away a little secret. When are we doing our next giveaway? At 300 subscribers or 350 or?
Well, originally it was supposed to be 150, then 300, then 500. I don't know if we want to skip 300 and go right to 5, but the next giveaway, Scott got in contact with Lee and he's got something in the works.
And not only that, there's going to be something else with it too.
Oh.
I would personally like to say 500 for one reason only, is that eagle feather CB Life scope.
Yeah.
I am going to purchase one of them and do that in the giveaway too.
No, that's cool. And I said CV Life. I mean, so far they've treated us very good. You know, I got another video I got to work on that Scott did. He bought some of CV Life's double rifle cases, you know, soft cases. I just got to edit the video, get it posted.
He got to open his today.
That was the thing. Scott purchased them on his own. We didn't contact CV Life about them or anything. And, you know, the only thing so far out of that CV Life has given us is the bipod. They sent us a bipod to review. We did the review. We sent them the video. They liked it. And every time we do something that is a CV Life product, we make sure that we email them a link to the video, because that way, as the channel grows and whether they decide to or not send us products, we can use those to give back to you guys. You know, one of you guys may be watching this and you have, you know, a hand-me-down rifle from your dad or your grandpa or uncle or whoever that the gun shoots good. It just needs a new scope. You know, you don't have to spend, you know, an astronomical amount. You know, we would be more than willing to, in a giveaway, give you a chance to win something like that. So yeah, we'll say at 500 subscribers, you know, we might do one at 350, just something small. You know, we wanted to target this one more toward just the shooter aspect, not necessarily the reloader aspect, because not everybody that watches this channel is a reloader. So, you know, we're willing to, you know, give you a bipod for your gun. You know, we'll give you a $25 gift card that you can use toward whatever you want, and then some cool stickers and stuff. You know, maybe as the channel gets bigger, maybe we'll find a company that'll make T-shirts or something.
But, you know, in that, I will guarantee that everybody that watches this channel that's a reloader is probably a shooter.
Well, easily. But, you know, that's the thing is, some people are scared to get into reloading because just the price of it. To get into it, yes, it's expensive. You know, when you look at the price of components nowadays, I mean, I just seen a post on Facebook that wherever, I don't know where the guy lived, but we're in his area, Varget's up to $75 a pound now. You know, when I bought that 1 pounder that I got now, that's lasted me quite a while. I think I got it at Shields for $61.99. Actually, no, got it cheaper than that because they were running a 10% off all reloading stuff at the time. So I got it a little bit cheaper, but I mean, that's the thing is, even like both Scott and myself have said, you know, we know people that they've always thought about reloading, but just have never wanted to get into it. It's a case of, especially myself, I've told multiple people, if you buy the components, because now I don't have, you know, $250 laying around to buy powder, bullets, you know, whatever you need, but I'll allow you to come over, use my presser. I'll, you know, do something for you, you know, even if you wanted to work up a couple of test loads with a particular bullet I had, I'll let you use my stuff. But once you find something that works, you got to buy your own. You know, you're still more than willing to use my press and everything, but my components are my components. You know, that was out of my own pocket kind of thing.
And, you know, guys, if you have questions about how a press works, you know, you guys can email us and we will sit down with a camera and say, hey, okay, we don't have to send that video to everybody. We can send you personally a video and say, hey, okay, this is how this press works. Sit down and actually go through it step by step, and send you that video, and, you know, make sure we have good angles of everything. We're 100% willing to do that, and I know a lot of people out there aren't. I don't know why.
And that's the thing, especially for new reloaders of, like, you know, I know there is videos out there of, you know, how do you set up a die? Well, all dies are different. You know, like the RCBS dies, like, I should say, most of your resizing dies are the same. You know, it's touch off the shell holder, give it a little bit of an extra turn, you're good. You know, but when it comes to the seating die, like the Lee dies are completely different than my RCBS and my Hornady dies. You know, those ones, because it has a roll crimper built into the die, it's, you put your brass, you run it up, you run your die till it just touches the mouth of the case. You can either back it off for no crimp or bring it in just a little bit to apply some crimp. You know, the Lee dies, it's just, you run it right down to the shell holder like your, you know, resizing die, and they sell a completely different decapping die. Now, it's not a case of they want more money from you to crimp your cases. It's a case of they want to make things as simple as possible. You know, why not have both your dies set up the same way? That way there's no confusion. You know, because I myself actually messed up when I first loaded for my 270. Had all my cases resized and deprimed. You know, got everything ready. And I had set up my seating die wrong. I'd set it up like my resizing die and crushed it.
I did the same thing with my Reading dies for my 223.
And I'm like, oops. So what I ended up doing, because I didn't realize it at the time, is I just run up the handle till you felt the bullet kind of stop, but then right where it tried touching the case and tried applying that crimp, I'd stop there. And then I had everything set right, but it's just, you really got to pay attention, and that's why
in that I have this here. I just want to show quick. So
Is that the bag of fuck ups?
no.
Oh.
Not this one.
I need to start one of those here pretty soon. Or just invest in a bullet puller.
Like this one right here. I had someone give these to me. They loaded, they're 308 loads. So we always do something to say what the load is. It says, poor accuracy rounds in Savage Precision Rifle. Recheck me. I have no idea what's loaded in these. I'm going to pull all the bullets, dump all the powder, and start new. Because do you know what's loaded in?
Hell no. I'm not taking the chance either.
Yeah,
That's one of those moments that I tie a string onto the trigger and stand back about 20 feet.
yeah, guys, when you go to, I hate to say this, but I know a lot of people that go to gun shows and they see people, oh yeah, I reloaded all these rounds for 308. Well, what are they? Oh, they're good.
A guy I used to work with, his dad was big in that, you know, he would reload a bunch of stuff and sell it at gun shows. You know, he'd make a pretty good amount on it, but, you know, I don't know if he ever, you know, I never went to any of the gun shows he was selling stuff at, so I don't know if he disclosed like what everything was, but there is a reason why no matter where you look, whether it's us on forums, on Facebook, they say don't trust other people's loads. Because
this very reason, whoever loaded these could have accidentally filled them full of red dot.
yeah.
Who knows?
And, you know, the thing is like, you know, you never want to trust anybody because, like, that load may work for him and it may be close to, I mean, there's been plenty of times I've seen that guys either run at what the book says is max pressure or a little bit above and see no pressure signs. Now, your chamber might be a little looser than theirs, so now you're going to have more pressure signs and, you know, you might risk damaging, you know, your rifle or, well, yourself. You know,
It's just not worth it.
Like, prime example, there was one day I was scrolling through Facebook and a guy posted in a group, was reloading 308 and loaded some 150 grain GMXs and I think just some interlocks or something. And the data he had gotten said to start at 49.6 grains or something, or 49 grains of CFE 223. And max in the Hornady book was 49.6.
Yeah.
And he asked right out, are they safe to shoot? And I commented back. I would recommend pulling every bullet and redoing them.
It's like, I don't know if you sent me the video or if I sent you the video. You know, I have the Make Me Cuss hammer. You know, for bullet puller.
Oh, yeah. I think you sent me the video.
But there was actually a guy that took a pair of needle nose pliers and drilled a hole in the jaws.
Yep.
And took his die out and just raised the cartridge up, grabbed the bullet with the pliers and pulled down and pulled the bullets. That's how I'm going to pull it. I'm not going to use the Make Me Cuss hammer.
I mean, that works great, but I mean, depending on the bullet you're dealing with, if it's something with a thinner jacket, like let's just say the VMAX for instance, you know, it's got a very thin jacket on it. You might crush the jacket, and
yeah,
you know, if you want to reload them for plinking around, they might be fine, but you're probably going to mar them up doing that way. So, I mean, I know RCBS makes one. I think Hornady makes it. You can buy the collet bullet pullers. You just screw them in like a die. You buy individual collets for your bullet diameter. You run it up. You clamp it down. And you run your ram down. It pulls the bullet. You're done.
but I'm cheap.
Or, because I think you can actually go to Walmart and buy the RCBS kinetic bullet hammer. And that's like $30. You put it in there. And yeah, you find a nice hard bench or something, and you gotta slam that on there.
I do
You know,
know.
the kinetic energy pulls that bullet out, but you know they're safe to reload after that because
Yeah.
there's no marks on them.
I-
But doing pliers or something, like I had a couple of 243 loads. I'm glad I double checked them because what was I using? I was using Winchester 760. It was supposed to be 38 grains of powder. I put 48 in there, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't seem right. And I ended up having to take a pair of channel locks and wiggling the bullets loose, and I dumped the powder out, and I'm like, those are a little hot. But I couldn't reuse them bullets. I mean, I ended up marring them up using a pair of channel locks. So it's just, you do what you can, but if you mar them up enough, and I mean, you can't really reuse them. But
Yeah, well, these ones I'm not worried about. These are Full Metal jackets, and as you know, I have a huge box full of
yeah, prime example. I was able to
165
make some
grain.
dummy rounds with
Yeah,
them.
I have a huge box full of 165 grain Full Metal jackets. So I'm not. I basically just want them for the brass, but just for reference, you know, if somebody gives you something like this, I would my recommendation would be don't use it, especially if it says didn't shoot good. There's probably a reason.
I mean, there's so much information out there, guys. It's a lot of it you got to take with a grain of salt. I mean, unless you have someone that is extremely close to you that has been reloading for years that says, hey, you know, this is where I'd recommend starting. You know, you're probably safe doing that. But if you're on like any of the forums or Facebook or whatever, and someone says, well, this is where I'd start, you know, this is where I got the best accuracy, you know, you never know. They might be 2-3 grains above maximum.
Yeah.
And for some people, that works great. You know, they don't have any pressure signs. You know, they're getting the accuracy and speed they want. But again, like I said it before, all rifles are different.
And you know, just like you say, all rifles are different. So are actions. I mean, you know, like the Savage 110 action, or the Winchester Model 70, the original Mauser action, or
You want a real good one?
The old Remington 700s are all great actions. But when you get into some of these other rifles that their actions are not as strong, and you're at a higher pressure, there is a great chance they're not going to withstand it.
You want a real good one? Go look at the original tolerances for the 300 Win Mag. Those chambers are so sloppy because they headspace off the belt on the end of the cartridge versus off the neck like, you know, all the other cartridges do. And, you know, there are so many people out there that for years had piss poor accuracy out of 300 Win Mag because the tolerances on the chambers themselves are so big that, like, your freebore and everything, it's just almost like a hot dog down a hallway. Is the best way to put it. You know, I mean, there's guys that, you know, I think actually Starline might sell some. They sell extra long 300 Win Mag brass so that it actually bypasses that belt and you can headspace off the shoulder. And it works out for people that have them older guns that have the sloppier I mean, they've since revised some stuff, but you know, like I just saw a post on Facebook too the other day. A guy had a brand new Savage, I think it was a 110, might have been an Axe, I don't remember, in 270, and bought some factory ammo, shot it, and you looked at the cartridge, and it was normal down here, and then halfway up, it got skinny. And it's because quality control missed something, and the chamber's bad.
Well, you know, another prime example of that is, you know, the 4570. People don't know there was two different combinations of the 4570.
Yeah, you got the black powder version, you got the smokeless powder version.
Not just that. You had the 4570, then you had the 4570 government, and they were a little bit different.
And now everything's standard is 45.
Right.
It says 4570, but 4570 government will work. But
it will, but it's actually just a fraction of an inch longer.
But what's nice in the way
that
is a rimmed cartridge, so it headspaces off the rim, and straight wall cartridges really don't grow when you shoot them. So,
but back in the day, when they first came out,
when you're using black
they were
powder,
having problems with, you know, 4570 wouldn't quite fit in just the standard 4570, and they're all up in arms about, you know, what's going on with my gun. I got bad ammo. I got a bad gun.
Yep.
No, you got a little bit incorrect ammo for, like my 50 caliber sharps that I have locked away, because my great grandfather's gun, it was actually a Buffalo gun from way back. But in that there was a 50 caliber sharps and then your 50 caliber, and the way they were made is they said, oh, the ammo is interchangeable, and it's not.
In a way, it's almost like the 357 mag and the 38 special. Like they're
Yeah.
what confuses people about that, you can shoot 38 special
In a
out of a
350
357 Magnum, but not vice versa. It's the same bullet diameter and everything. It's just one's measured just the bullet diameter, which is 357. The 38 special is measured the case diameter after the bullet's pushed in there. And a lot of people don't realize that. They see 35 and 38 and think they're different, but they're the exact same. One's just low power and a little bit shorter than the other one, and there's plenty of things out there like the 44 mag and the 44 special and the 41 mag and the 41 special. There's all kinds of instances like
now
that.
my brain's hurting. But guys, I every time I talk to a new loader, I always tell them this, and it's an old expression: use the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. If you're just new into loading, worry about the one caliber that you're loading. Read everything you can about it before you ever start loading it. And if you're not sure you understand it, ask questions. We're here. We'll help answer. The forum that we spoke about, the Hand Loaders Bench, there's all kinds of guys on there that'll help. Just like we talked about customer service, you can call the companies. Those companies want you to succeed because another customer means a few more dollars in their pocket. If you go to the range and you end up extremely maimed, you're probably not buying bullets anymore.
Probably not.
So they want you to be safe, and so use all those resources because they're going to help. And not only are they going to help, but if you get into load, I know several people right now that wanted to get into precision shooting and reloading. And they bought one bullet, one powder. And they loaded 25 rounds and they went to the range and said, well, it just didn't work for me. You have to be willing to spend a little to find that right load. But also, Walker and I, prime example is he has some powders that I don't, and I have some powders that he doesn't. And we're like, hey, can you load me 2 or 3 of these just so I can try them in my rifle? Sure. And I'll look at him and say, well, I've got some of this, this, and this. You want to try some of that? And he's like, yeah. So we'll trade back and forth. Find somebody that reloads, and you actually find it's actually pretty fun because I can look at him and say, hey, can you load me some 223s with that powder? He's like, sure, I'll load them. Good, I don't have to load them now.